everyone. Welcome to discuss Scottsdale Big Book Study, where we will study the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Today's date is 26 October 2024. My name is Danny P. I'm a recovered compulsive overeater by God's grace, and I will be your host for today's study. And our co-hosts are Audrey N and Maria F. If you have any question during the meeting, please contact either myself or any of the co-hosts by private message in the chat function. The chat function will be disabled until 5 minutes before the questions and answers session. Please note that the speaker, Alan G., will be recorded for the duration of the study. However, the question and answer session, which follows, will not be recorded. We ask if you can please make sure to keep your microphone on mute at all times during today's study. And also, please turn off your video if you are exercising, eating, or if you need to step away from your screen for any reason. During the meeting, we will post the link to our seventh tradition. This money goes towards the cost of our Zoom account, the cost of uploading our recordings, and we also send contributions to our intergroup, Arizona Serenity in the Desert, Region Free, and World Service Organization. We will post a link to the previous week's recordings. These are available by clicking on the link that will be posted in the chat box. I will now turn the meeting over to Alan G.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you very much. As you guys can hear, I do have a monster cold, so please bear with me. I got in from Chicago on Tuesday. I was visiting my girlfriend there. And when I came home, I was just down for the count, and I have been down for days. But I'm on the other side of the mountain now, and I will soldier through today. We have been before I get started, I just wanted to remind everybody of something. On November the 3rd, which is coming up, daylight savings time will come to an end in America. I know in Europe you guys have different schedules, different types of timing things, but in the United States, daylight savings time will come to an end on November the 3rd. That means that all of our Scottsdale meetings moving beyond that point, if you are in the state of Arizona or in the state of Hawaii, they will begin 1 hour later. If you're not in Arizona and you're not in Hawaii, there will be no change. But if you're in Arizona, it'll begin 1 hour later. So that will begin November the 3rd. That said, we are in the middle of step 9. Step 9 is a vital and crucial step. But step 9 should never be ventured upon without the guidance of a sponsor. Because what can happen is, in our zeal to make amends, we can actually cause more harm than the original injury. We can go in there and make amends for something we didn't do. We can enlighten people as to things that they didn't know about that will hurt them. So we want to make sure that we have the guidance of a sponsor. And it's also vital to have begun step 10, because without 10, it's very likely I'm not going to do step 9, because I'm scared to give him back the money. I'm scared to face what I've done. I have shame. I have guilt. I have remorse. I have resentment. Let me blow my nose and sneeze. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. That is going to happen from time to time this morning, and I apologize for that. Okay, so step 9, we have been talking about the domestic part of step 9. Should we tell our spouse? Should we not tell our spouse? And we're on page 81, whatever the situation. So when we get started, we are going to start on page 81 from the words, whatever the situation. But before we get there, we're going to remember that most of my amends, or all of my amends, were money amends. I didn't have the amends that they're talking about. I never kissed anybody's wife. I never kissed anybody's girlfriend. I never did any of that stuff. So I don't have those kind of amends to relay to you. I'm going to have to be dependent upon what it says here in the book, because my life does not illustrate that. I didn't do those kind of things, not because I'm such a saint, not because I'm so wonderful, but I was a fat boy. And so these kind of things, these kind of opportunities never came my way. So I don't know what I would have done had they come my way. I've had a couple of brushes with that stuff in recovery, and I have managed to fend off any behavior, any dialogue, any kind of thing that would have put me in a situation that I would not be proud to tell you today. I have had a couple of those things, but they were nipped right in the bud with no problem, with nothing happened there that I wouldn't want on the front page of the Chicago Tribune. Nothing happened there, no problem. But since I don't have those kind of amends, I'm going to have to rely on the book and common sense to get us through it. Now, before we talk about page 81, whatever the situation, I want to remind you that 3 things will happen as a result of working the steps, among many others, but 3 things in particular I'm thinking of today. You will get right with God, you will get right with yourself, and you will get right with your fellow human being. One of the things that plagued my life was an inability to go out into the world and be who I was and be open, because I lied to people about money. I wrote bad checks. I I just did a lot of stupid things around money, and I owed a lot of money. And so what happened to me is that I became very ashamed. I became very embarrassed about it. I became very fearful about it. And I didn't want to see people. I didn't want to face people. I also became very envious of many of my classmates from high school. They did really well. I didn't do really well, but I was fighting an eating disorder from the time I was a little tiny boy, and they weren't. So I guess I did the best I could. But my amends were money amends. And the great emancipators, why do I call them the great emancipators? What is an emancipator? An emancipator is someone who sets you free from slavery. Am I talking about chattel slavery? No, thank God. I'm talking about the kind of slavery that we lived in as compulsive overeaters who were not in recovery. My mother used to say to me, "You're a slave to food. You're a slave to food." She used to say this to me all the time. And I used to think she was just crazy. Why are you saying that to me? She was 100% right. I did whatever the food told me to do. I acted in a way that was very subservient to food. Food was my master. The disease was my master. Well, I was also a slave to my fear. I was a slave to my embarrassment, shame, guilt, remorse, whatever it is you want to call it. I was its I was its bitch. I know I don't like to talk like that, but I was its bitch. I really was. And so I did whatever it told me to do. And if that meant hiding in the house for years and years at a time, that's what I did. So my opinion is that 5 and 9 are the great emancipators. When I say that, what I mean is they set you free and they allow me to walk the streets a free man. I can see anybody that I run into. I don't have to be afraid of them. I don't have to think, do I owe them money? Did I lie to them about a check? Did I lie to them about money? I don't have to do that. I can look the world in the eye. And so if I can look the world in the eye, I'm neither better than you, I am not worse than you, I am equal to you. To me, this is living. This is freedom, because it says in step 5, we can now look the world in the eye. And when I did step 9, do step 9, and I do it as part of 10, I do it all the time. When I can clean up my past, I can walk the streets a free man, neither better than you nor worse than you. Very, very important, because this is a disease of self-loathing. This is a disease of self-hatred, of fear, of remorse, of guilt, of shame. This is a disease that does more than make me fat. It produces within me the urge to isolate. And this disease is the great isolator. It cuts you apart from your support system. It cuts you apart from people, calls you out from people that can support you. Any abuser is going to try to isolate you first, so you can't get support. Nobody's going to know you're being abused because you've pushed everybody away. And that's what this disease does to me too. It pushes everything and everybody away from me so that I don't have that support. And if you really think about it, for me, I think it is for all of us. Hold on one second. Sorry about this. I think a good, productive life includes people, positive people. Somebody very wise said to me a long time ago, if you want to live longer, not just longer, but better, eat less, move more, and surround yourself with positive people. Eat less, move more, and surround yourself with positive people. That's one of the reasons I believe that God gave us the program, because the program puts us in touch with people that are positive people. They have positive influences on our lives. I don't want to hang around at this stage of the game with a bunch of people that are always negative Nellies. I try not to. I want to hang with the fountains, not the drains. Okay, let's go to page 81 with all that said, and we are emancipating now from our isolation. We are looking the world in the eye as we clean up this past. So we're on page 81. Whatever the situation, we usually have to do something about it. In other words, action is going to have to be taken. If we are sure our wife does not know, should we tell her? Not always, we think. If she knows in a general way that we have been wild, should we tell her in detail? Undoubtedly, we should admit our fault. She may insist on knowing all the particulars. She will want to know who the woman is and where she is. We feel we ought to say to her that we have no right to involve another person. We are sorry for what we have done, and God willing, it shall not be repeated. More than that, we cannot do. We have no right to go further. Though there may be justifiable exceptions, and though we wish to lay down no rule of any sort, We have often found this the best course to take. Now, let's take a look at something we said last week. Do you remember the example that reminded us we do not make amends where other people are involved if it's going to hurt them? And I gave you an example out of my life. I had a sponsee of mine. I haven't heard from him in years. I hope he's still in recovery. I don't know. He was or is a cardiologist in a southern state. And one of the wives, there were three partners. One of the wives of the medical practice was running the practice, setting the appointments, doing the billing, doing everything that needed, ordering supplies, what have you. And they were doing good. They were going along. They were making money. And she got pregnant and she had to quit. So they hired this outside group, this outside medical group to run the practice. And they started making money like they had never made money in their life. And he found out that they were doing some things that were not exactly kosher with Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, what have you. And that's why they're making all this money. And he went to the two other doctors and he said, we have to bring this to a halt. We're making money, but it's not exactly kosher. And they told him, shut the front door. We don't want to hear from you. And if you go to the authorities, we'll let them know it was all you. There's two of us and one of you. So don't you dare implicate us in anything. We do not have the right to make any amends that is going to implicate another person in wrongdoing. Well, this thing that we just read, this paragraph that we've just read, if someone knows that we had an affair, but they don't know specifically who it was with or what the situation was, we do not have the right to go tell them any specifics. We have to admit our thing. We did this, we did that. But when it comes to who it was with, unless they know, you don't implicate anybody, but you have to make an adjustment in your behavior. So what does that all mean? What does that teach us? What is the lesson of this paragraph, of this part of the book? Let's just say, for example, that for the sake of this example, I am married. Now, I'm not married, but just bear with me. I'm married and I'm cheating on my wife. Okay, fine. And I say to my wife, I'm sorry, but it won't happen again. The next week, the next day, the next month, I get another girlfriend. And now I'm running around again. Is that an amends? No. Because at some point, I have to stop the behavior. We don't apologize to the Constitution. We amend the Constitution. So when we amend the Constitution, what happens? We change it. To amend, and that's why it's so important. The Oxford groupers used restitution. We use amends. Whatever word you use, I don't care. But here's what has to happen. It is not enough to pay back money if you're going to just steal more. It is not enough to stop having an affair with Betty and then pick up an affair with Mary or Lynn or Sue or whoever. That's not okay. At some point, we have to change, alter, amend our behavior. It's not an amend unless the behavior is changed. Let's just say, for example, I make amends to my wife. Now, I'm not cheating on her in this scenario, but I haven't been doing my domestic I'm supposed to take out the garbage, or I'm supposed to wash the dishes, or does anybody wash dishes anymore? No. Bad example. We have dishwashers now. Okay. I'm supposed to do whatever I'm supposed to do. Okay, fine. And I say, I'm so sorry. And then I still don't do it. That's not an amends. I'm continuing the same behavior. Okay, you guys get it. You've got to alter your behavior. Page 81, the bottom of the page. Bear with me. It's hard for me to talk. I really don't feel good. I'm doing the best I can. So just kind of bear with me. I don't feel good. I really don't. Our design for living is not a one-way street. It is as good for the wife as for the husband. If we can forget, so can she. It is better, however, that one does not needlessly name a person upon whom she can vent jealousy. So we don't go home and say, I had an affair with Susie. I had an affair with Mary, whatever that may be. You don't do that unless she knows. If she knows, maybe she saw you together, maybe one of her friends saw you together, so she'll know who it was with, whatever. That's a different scenario. If she doesn't know, we do not have the right to go dump on her all kinds of information to which she can vent jealousy. And, we just don't have that right. We're not going to do that. Page 82. Perhaps there are some cases where the utmost frankness is demanded. No outsider can appraise such an intimate situation. It may be that both will decide that the way of good sense and loving kindness is to let bygones be bygones. Each might pray about it, having the other one's happiness uppermost in mind. Keep in sight. Let me turn this light on. Okay. Keep it always in sight that we are dealing with that most terrible emotion, jealousy. Good generalship may decide that the problem be attacked on the flank rather than risk a face-to-face combat. What does that mean? You know your domestic situation. We don't. No relationship looks the same from the inside as it does from the outside. I bet I'm not the only person here. I have friends, and so do you, and they started talking about Mary or Susie or Lucy or whatever. She's so funny, she's so beautiful, she's so this, she's so that. And finally we meet her and we find out she's just a human being. She's just a human being, and she's got fears, and she's got whatever she's got, I don't know, but our friend, he is madly in love with her. Okay, great, fine, no problem. No relationship looks the same from the inside as it does from the outside. You know your relationship. We don't. You have to use good generalship. In other words, what is good generalship? Common sense. So don't ask me what you should do specifically with your spouse or specifically with your significant other. I don't know. I know in a general OA steps sense, yes, I can answer the questions from the book. But if you're going to ask me about your specific relationship, I have no way to know that. I don't know you, and I don't know your specific person, who you're involved with. So sometimes you just have to use common sense. What is the best thing? This is what I do. I pray about it, and then I take action. I don't pray too long. I take action. What is the action? I ask my sponsor. I talk to my sponsor. I get guidance from a sponsor. I also have people in program that I will call and I will say, What do you think I should do? What do you think is the best course of action? And when I get the same answer 3 times, I count that as God. If one person says, I'm a duck, nothing. 2 people say I'm a duck, nothing. 3 people say I'm a duck, I find a pond, I put my butt in the water, I start swimming around, I start quacking. That's what I do. I start quacking. You'll hear me out there going quack, 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 quack. I actually love the Ducks and I hope they win today. But if 3 people tell me I'm a duck, I'm getting my butt in the water and I'm going to start swimming around and I'm going to start quacking because God usually communicates with me in threes. But I first pray. Second, I ask my sponsor. Here's what I don't do. Here's the action I don't take. Honey, if I was cheating on you, would you want me to tell you who it was with? I don't do that. Honey, would it be okay if I spent a bunch of money on another girl that you would be okay with it? No, I don't do that. I use common sense. Once you start that honey business, if I was having an affair, hypothetically, dear, of course, hypothetically, would you want me to tell you? You don't do that. You pray, you go to your sponsor, you go to maybe a couple of other people, and I guarantee you that God will communicate with you clear, clear communication. God is a very quiet communicator. He doesn't yell, he doesn't scream, he doesn't put up, all kinds of craziness. He communicates clearly and succinctly. The problem is, for decades of my life, I gave him the finger. He kept begging me to put down the food. He kept begging me, work your program better. He kept begging me, don't do stupid fear-based things. And I kept doing them. Now, again, I have been cheated on. I have never cheated on anybody. My wife had an affair while we were married. And she chose not to make an amends. And that's okay. Not my business. It's all right. So if you're going to ask me at the end, what about your wife not making an amends? None of my business. It's not my business what another person does or does not make amends for. I don't care. It's not my business. I'm not in the business of taking her inventory. She's a lovely person. I wish her well. I wish her bluebirds in the summer. I wish her warmth in the winter. May she live and be well. And that's all I could say. That's fine. Let's go to page 82. 82. If we have no such complication, and I have not, there is plenty we should do at home. Sometimes we hear an alcoholic say that the only thing he needs to do is keep sober. They say that the only thing, okay, certainly he must keep sober, for there will be no home if he doesn't. But he is yet a long way from making good to the wife or parents whom for years he has so shockingly treated. Passing all understanding is the patience mothers and wives have had with alcoholics. Had this not been so, many of us would have no homes today, would perhaps be dead. One of the things that we see in program are people coming into program and they're 40, they're 50, they're 20, they're whatever age they are. They say they've never hurt anybody or they've hurt 1 or 2 people. That's not the case. The closer people are to us, the more we have hurt them, lied to them. This disease that we have is a disease of lies. It's a disease of anger and fear. It's a disease of self-loathing and jealousy. It's a disease of many, many things. And the closer you are to one of us, we are going to hurt you. And I think it is deep denial for anybody to sit and tell me they've never hurt anyone in their life. I think there's two types of people that come in. They've hurt everybody or they've hurt nobody. Both are wrong. Both are incorrect. Somewhere in the middle lies the truth. Look at your life, your family, your school, your neighborhood, your extended family, church or synagogue, camp, activities, jobs, bosses, co-workers, friends. Look at these people. Did you lie to them? Did you say rude things to them? Did you gossip behind their back? Did you character assassinate them? Did you steal money from them? Did you befriend them because you felt they could help you in some way, socially or business or romantically? Did you befriend them for something other than an above board friendship relationship? I'm not talking about sex. I'm not talking about romance. Did you befriend someone because they were the boss's daughter? Did you befriend someone because you felt they could help you politically at your company? Did you befriend someone because you thought they might get you in good with somebody that you were interested in dating? That's a harm. And we treat it like a sexual harm done others. Did you use your God-given personality for something other than what it was intended for? I don't have to have sex with you to harm you in that way. Did you lie to somebody and it caused them grief? Did you steal from somebody? Did you misrepresent yourself? I told all the Republicans I was a Republican. I told all the Democrats I was a Democrat. I told all the White Sox fans I was a White Sox fan. Although I would never tell that lie again because I'm not a White Sox fan. I'm a Cub fan and proud of it. Oh, God, that hurts my chest. Sorry about that. Good gosh, that hurts. Oh, anyway, when this is over, I'm going to take some Tylenol. Okay, anyway, um, ouch. Ow. Okay, so did you lie to somebody? Did you character assassinate somebody? What did you do? You know better than I do. You were there. I wasn't there. You know you hurt people, and hurt people hurt people. You were hurting. You had a disease. You felt like the world was screwing you over. You felt like the world was passing you by, and you lashed out at others. You lashed out of anger and fear. We have to go back and clean that up. You need a sponsor, someone that knows how to direct you. It's very important. And the people that are closest to us, normally we hurt them the worst. My mother, my father, I never had a chance to make amends to them while they were alive. I try to make amends to them every day. I hope that they are proud of me. I'm writing a book. Cindy and I are working on this book. It's Herculean. We're turning podcasts into book. And there's a lot of editing and there's an enormous amount of typing. And we really need help with it because her wrists are killing her. And I type like 2 words every 3 days. I'm terrible at typing. We need help. And we're trying to get some help. And I don't have a lot of money to spend on typists. But Cindy and I are putting it together, and I think it's going to be great. I look at some of the material in there, and I think it's gold. It's gold, but it's got to go from um, podcast onto paper, and it's got to be edited because what works in a podcast doesn't work on paper. I repeat things too much. I go off on tangents too much, and I can't have a book like that. It's okay for the podcast. I see Maria laughing at me. That's okay. It's okay for the podcast, but it's not okay for the book because you don't want to go off on tangents while the person's reading. It's a little different. But I try to make amends, and I hope if I can get this book done by the time I die, I hope that my mom and dad will be very proud of me. I never got a chance to make amends to them because my mom died when I was 22. My dad died when I was 24, and I didn't come into program until I was 24 years of age after my father had passed away. So I came in 1979, just a few months before I turned 25. I was 24 years old when I first came here. Let's go to the bottom of 82. So I try to make amends to them every day. I pray. I love them. I know they loved me. They did the best they could. I was a shit as a son. I really was a shit as a son. I didn't appreciate them as I was supposed to appreciate them. I really didn't. And I'm trying to now. Okay, the alcoholic, I'm on page 82. The alcoholic is like a tornado, roaring his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead, affections have been uprooted, selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil. We feel a man is unthinking when he says sobriety is enough. He is like the farmer who came up out of his cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. To his wife, he remarked, "Don't see anything the matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing?" Let's face a fact. If all the food did was make us eat too much and get fat, it would be one thing. It did more than that. The average alcoholic, compulsive eater, gambler, drug addict is going to take 5 to 7 people minimally to hell with them. I took 2 people for sure to hell with me, my mother and my father. They spent hundreds and hundreds of hours crying about how fat I was getting. And they were devastated. The doctors would scream at my mother and scream at my father and scream at me. And there's 3 things in the life of a fat boy that will scare you more than anything, keep you up at night: doctors, girls, and buying clothes. Those 3 things will keep me up at night. I went to the doctor yesterday. What a joy it was to hop on the scale and not be afraid. You talk about emancipation. I hopped on the scale. I was even wearing my shoes. I was so sick. I wasn't going to take them off and put them on. I took everything out of my pockets. I kept my shoes on. So that popped me up another pound or 2, whatever it was. I didn't care. I knew that I was okay. I knew that she wouldn't say anything because I'm right where I'm supposed to be. That's freedom. That's freedom. That's recovery. They take your blood pressure and they pop on the scale. I felt like, wow, this is living, man. This is living. I looked at the weight on the scale with shoes on, and she was fine with it. I have a female doctor. She was fine with it. I was fine with it. It's okay. I got a cold. Okay. But I didn't, I'm not eating Reese's peanut butter cups. I'm not eating, ice cream or whatever the hell. So I was okay. I was good. So we have to consider more than just being abstinent. I've told you this before. I'm going to tell you this again right now. Abstinence for me is not the most important thing in my life without exception. I get it. Abstinence is the key. It's abstinence for my life, no question. I'm not questioning that. But when abstinence becomes the most important thing in my life without exception, The reason that I'm in trouble is I lose purpose. I lose focus. Don't ever lose focus of this. If you never remember anything I say here, if you forget everything I've ever said here, don't forget this. My real purpose is to fit myself to be of maximum service to God and the people about me. The main object of this book is to help you find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. Can I be of maximum service to God and the people about me if I'm eating? No. The main object of this book is to help you find a power greater than yourself that'll solve your problem. That means if it's the main object of this book, it's better damn well be the main object of my life. It better be the main object of my life. So the spiritual awakening as the result of the steps is the key. Now, without a spiritual awakening, can I get on the scale with shoes on and still be okay? No. Without a spiritual awakening, can I maintain abstinence? No. Without a spiritual awakening, can I pay back money that I took from people and not jump out the window for fear that I won't have enough for myself? No. Can I have a girlfriend without a spiritual awakening? No. Now you say lots of people pay money. Lots of people have girlfriends that don't have a spiritual awakening. I can't. I am addicted to food. I am a compulsive overeater. I have an allergy of the body and a twist of the mind that compels me to eat against my will. I can't do that because I hate myself in this disease and I'm going to destroy myself in this disease. When I'm in recovery, I don't hate myself. I live a very different life. So the main object of this book is to help you find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. Okay, in keeping with that, you need to make amends. What did Sam Shoemaker teach us? Who was Sam Shoemaker? Sam Shoemaker was the front man of the Oxford group in New York City. And Sam Shoemaker taught the boys that you need to find God, but there's going to be 4 impediments. What's an impediment? An impediment is something that slows or stops progress. Slows or stops progress. You've all driven where they have speed bumps. That's a kind of impediment, slows you down. If you don't want to bottom out your car, you better slow down because some of those speed bumps are nasty. And if you hit them at too high of a speed, you're going to screw up your car, right? You're going to screw up the bottom of your car. Now, there's another kind of impediment, a dead end, right? Ow. There's another kind of impediment, and that's a dead end, a wall, a dead end street, right? That's an impediment too. What are the 4 impediments to God? Number 1, a resentment you will not let go of. Step 4. Number 2, a secret you will not tell. Step 5. Number 3, a harmful thrill you will not stop. Step 6 and 7. Number 4, this is the one we're talking about today, a restitution that you will not make. If you make a decision not to make an amends to Joe or Mary or whoever, if you make a decision on not making an amends to them, you are screwing yourself. Remember, it was agreed at the beginning that you're willing to go to any length to gain victory over this disease. You are willing to go to any lengths to recover. What does it say on page 59? If you want what we have, ow, ow. if you want what we have and you're willing to go to any length to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. Well, we're asking you to put your money where your mouth is. What do you mean you're not going to make amends to your mother? What do you mean you're not going to make amends to your father or to your boss or to whoever? That's not recovery. It doesn't say made amends to such people wherever possible, except when you don't want to do it. It doesn't say that. It says we were willing to make amends to them all, except when to do so would injure them or others. We're calling you out. We're calling you out. And if you have a step 2, and you have come to believe or are coming to believe that there is a power greater, ow, ouch, there is a power greater than yourself, which will restore you to sanity, then you're relying upon God, and God is going to make it possible for you to make these amends. What kind of God do you have in your head? You think God's going to say, make amends to Mo and Larry, but not Curly? You think God's going to say, make amends to little Bo Peep and make amends to Cinderella, but not Snow White? Honestly? Really? That's the kind of God, ouch, you have in your head? Better look at that. Better look at that. Top of 83. Yes, there is a long period of reconstruction ahead. We must take the lead. A remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't fill the bill at all. We ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we now see it, being very careful not to criticize them. Their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that our own actions are partly responsible. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love. Now, I want to call to the attention of all of you that are already sponsoring. If you are already sponsoring, I want your attention. Do you see what we just read? We are referring to steps 11 and 10 in 9. I don't want to hear that you don't start 10 until they're done with 9. You're killing them. It says in step 10, we vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past, not after. Now, I want you to look at this sentence. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation. Stop right there. That means that while you're doing step 9, you're doing step 11. Don't you tell me that you're going to start people on 10 when they're done with 9. Sometimes 9 takes years, months. God only knows. You are seeing it in black and white. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to talk. You are seeing it in black and white that while we're doing 9, we're doing 10 and 11. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation, step 11, that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love, refers to step 10. If you are a sponsor, please, one of the things that's lacking in OA today is good, effective sponsorship. I know you're well-intentioned. You're passing on what you were taught. I hope it was good. But please read these end of this paragraph and understand you don't wait on 10 and 11 and 12 until they're done with 9. You'll be waiting too long. They will start going off their food plan in search of relief from the fear, anger, guilt, shame, remorse that 9 evokes. 9 evokes a lot of emotion. I don't necessarily want to face this guy. I lied to this guy and I wrote him a bad check that was worth no more than toilet paper. I wrote him a check that had the approximate value of this piece of Kleenex right here. That check had the same monetary value as this piece of Kleenex and what I'm about to put in it. So I don't want to necessarily revisit that. I don't necessarily want that memory to come back to me. I don't want to face this guy again. And what am I going to do? I'm going to seek relief in the food. So if you are a sponsor, page 83. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation, step 11, that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love. What does it say on page 84? The next page is step 10. What does it say? Love and tolerance of others is our code. Love and tolerance of others is our code. So become an effective sponsor if you are not already, by moving your people through the steps faster. You've got the rest of your life to study this and go through each minutia, each detail. I've been studying this book for almost half a century. In February of next year, I'll be here, if I make it, if this doesn't kill me, I'll be here 46 years. That's a long time. You don't have to be in the master's or PhD program to move through the steps and start sponsoring someone else. You just don't. You've got the rest of your life to learn. And as Clancy Imislund said, Clancy Imislund is one of my heroes. Unfortunately, he's gone now. Clancy Imislund said, you do not learn this program by absorbing spiritual information. You learn this program by transmitting spiritual information. That is how you learn this program. Okay. The spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. Unless one's family expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not to urge them. We should not talk incessantly to them about spiritual matters. They will change in time. Our behavior will convince them more than our words. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness would make a skeptic out of anyone. We want to think that everybody around us is right. And so what happened for me is when I started losing weight, everybody thought I got smart instead of stupid. They thought that I suddenly got it. I got it. I'm not going to eat Hostess Twinkies. I'm not going to eat cupcakes. I'm not going to eat pie, whatever. I have to make a believer out of them by my example, not by words. I have to make a believer out of myself because I lied to me more than I lied to anybody. I had no credibility with me. I knew I was lying to myself. You know, all those times that the doctors would scream at me and holler at me about going on a diet, and I was 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 10, and I would cry and I would leave their office swearing to God I was going to stay on my diet this time. I meant it. I wasn't lying, but I couldn't do it. I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going on, but I just couldn't stay on my diet. I wish I could have, because every single time I swore to the doctor or my mother or my father or my teachers or the rabbis at synagogue or whoever, every time I swore to God and took oaths that I was going to stay on my diet this time, I meant it. I meant it. And I had zero success. When I just did what was in front of me in this program, I have not found it necessary to compulsively overeat in over 25 and a half years. My girlfriend even said to me, I've never seen you eat between meals. I said, hopefully you never will. I just don't do that. I have my fruit in the morning because I take Xarelto, and you have to take Xarelto with food. You can't just, I mean, you won't die, but it's unpleasant and it works better when you take it with food. So I have an apple or an orange or a pear or something, some fruit or something that I take it with, and it seems to be okay. But you don't take Xarelto. It says right on the bottle, take with food. So, okay, I have to take it with something. So I have that snack or that fruit outside the realm of my meals. Okay, fine. But I don't eat between meals. Is that me? No. I wouldn't know how to do that. I could be sitting at home, like I'm isolated now. I mean, I'm not leaving the house till tomorrow. I'm not leaving the house till tomorrow. I'm stocked up on groceries. Ow, ow. Stocked up on groceries. My chest is killing me here. I'm stocked up on groceries. There's no reason for me to go anywhere and infect people for nothing. Now, tomorrow I'm going to walk. I've got to walk. I've got to get out there and do my 3 miles. So I am going to leave the house tomorrow to walk, but I'm going to do it very early in the morning as I listen to Special Edition. And that's what I'm going to do. But we are building credibility with others, and we're building credibility with ourselves. And when we build credibility with ourselves, it's harder to hate ourselves. This is all part of the process of self-acceptance and self-love. I'm not talking about narcissistic nattering. I'm talking about love of self as opposed to hatred of self. Let's do one more paragraph, and then next week, we are going to start on the promises, the 9th step promises. So don't miss next week. I don't want you to miss next week. Let's do one more paragraph. There may be some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves, we would right them if we could. In other words, amends to my mother, amends to my dad, amends to people that are dead, amends to people that I can't find, amends to people I just simply cannot make. I just simply cannot make them because they're not around. Can't find them, they're dead, whatever. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter. We can't see this person. Okay, send them a letter. And there may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile or scraping. What does that mean? We are not servile or scraping to anyone. We stand on our feet as human beings. We stand on our feet as human beings. Yes, I screwed up, but you are not going to whip me emotionally. You're not going to do that. I'm not going to sit there and let you abuse me. I made mistakes. Here's your money. Here's an apology. Here's whatever. But I'm a human being and I made a mistake or I made several mistakes. I am not going to allow you to chastise me. It says here, as God's people, we stand on our feet. We don't crawl before anyone. We are humans and we are going to treat ourselves as humans. We are going to treat ourselves with the respect that we would demand from someone else. That is very, very important. Now, let me just write this down. Before I turn this over, I just want to remind you of something. On November the 3rd,